So this video's performance element is to identify potential business threats and opportunities to protect a business's financial well-being. And let's start by explaining the nature of risk management. Risk management is a plan for protecting yourself and your property, as well as reducing financial losses caused by perils, hazards, or negligence. Personal risks such as loss of income or life due to illness, disability, or unemployment are among the most common risks. Property risks are also common. Liability risks are losses caused by negligence that leads to injury or property damage. And so managing risk starts with risk avoidance, which is basically trying to avoid a risk so that it never happens. You cannot avoid all risks, but you can reduce their likelihood in many cases by taking preventative measures, which is known as risk reduction. Sometimes you need to take on responsibility for a risk, such as when you know that the possible loss from the risk will be relatively small, and this is called risk assumption. The most common way to deal with the risk, especially larger risks, is to shift it, usually to an insurance company, and that's known as risk shifting. Risk shifting takes the financial burden of a risk and places it elsewhere for a fee. Conduct a risk assessment of an event. Risk assessments can be conducted in many different ways, but a general process is this four-step process that you see on the screen, and it begins by identifying the risk. So specifying what exactly the risk is so that you know what you're managing and what you're trying to deal with. Categorize the risk, so you can rate it based on its likelihood and its impact. How likely is it to occur? Is it extremely likely? Is it very likely? If you can give it some sort of numerical value like a percentage, that's even better. And rate the impact as well. How impactful is it? Is it going to have a serious impact and ruin people's lives? Is it just going to have a minor impact and not be very significant? The third step is to manage the risk. So think about how are you going to actually go about keeping the risk from affecting you very deeply. And avoidance is one way that we talked about in the earlier slide. You could talk about controlling it, like you could use risk assumption or risk shifting so that you take responsibility for it either by yourself or through an insurance company. And the last step is to review the results by recategorizing the risk after managing it. So once the risk has occurred or you have taken it into account and tried to manage it, recategorize it and re-rate it so that you can analyze how to better manage it in the future.